There is a lot of talk in the online business space of becoming the CEO of your business. You're not just a business owner, you have to elevate and become the CEO, and you have to do CEO level activities. And I have been resisting this for years. I've never really felt connected with that identity, and I've tried really hard, honestly. I was like, oh, we can be the visionary CEO or the feminine CEO or a bunch of other things, but it still was trying to mask or put a band-aid on a title that just never really worked. And recently I realized why. So I was recording a new program for Dirty Alchemy called Your Root System, and this is all about systematizing your business and creating a root system so that you're externalizing your energy into your business. And the old version of the program included talking about being the visionary CEO, and this new version was really about becoming the chief magical officer. And anyways, this podcast episode is going to dive into this big shift between the CEO and the CMO, so the chief executive officer versus the chief magical officer, and it's particularly applicable for those of you who have made your first 6 figures in business, or even your first multiple 6 figures in business. Maybe you're even making that annually and you're looking to scale up from here. So you have a really great track record of sales and you have people who love buying from you, but you're either plateaued or you just feel bored or burnt out, or you've lost that creative spark with your business. And a part of that can just be a capacity issue. And we'll be diving into this both in this week's episode and in next week's episode when we talk about the upward spiral of momentum. But don't worry, if you are a newer business owner or you're just getting started, there's going to be such amazing juicy nuggets that will either immediately apply to you or you can really look forward to in the next few months or the next few years of your business, even if you're starting at 0 right now. Scooting over to what the fuck is wrong with being a CEO. And this loops around to, at least for me, neurodivergent. So I was diagnosed with ADHD in my early 30s, so very late diagnosis. And like normal women with ADHD, I had such a late diagnosis because I didn't present like the standard 10-year-old boy with ADHD, which my brother was. My brother has very classic ADHD, and so growing up with him, a few years older than me, he was prescribed Ritalin and Strattera and had quote-unquote learning disabilities and was in special classes for it. And I just didn't present like that. And so it didn't even occur to me that I would have ADHD because I was a very dedicated student. I got great grades, was super high functioning. I have a bachelor's in physics. But when talking with a friend who's a coach who specializes with working with people with neurodiversity, she was like, I think you should go get tested because of X, Y, and Z thing that you had mentioned. And so I did. Anyways, I have talked about this a bunch of times in various podcast episodes. So you can check out those episodes if you're new here. So what is one of the most common elements of ADHD and neurodivergent, or some types of neurodiversity? It's an issue with executive dysfunction. That's one of the core elements of ADHD, executive dysfunction. And I did look up a definition to executive dysfunction, which is executive dysfunction refers to difficulties in planning, organizing, and executing tasks, impacting daily activities and responsibilities. It's a symptom that disrupts the brain's ability to control thoughts, emotions, and actions, which can manifest in various ways such as trouble with time management, organization, and problem solving. So why would someone with my brain want to be a chief executive officer if my brain has executive dysfunction? This was like such an explosive revelation to me. And even if you aren't neurodiverse, and I think everyone has a spectrum of neurodiversity, but there definitely is something with those diagnosed with ADHD or autism. But even if you don't have neurodiversity, like I'm going to explain a little bit of how this can apply to you and what we can do about these things, because maybe you don't have ADHD, but in the modern world, this very mercurial, information-based world where things are moving uber fast, where our Statistics are showing that our memory is like the memory of a goldfish. Like, actually, if you have anxiety, depression, if you don't get enough sleep, if certain environmental factors are alive in your environment, if you have food sensitivities, all of these can cause symptoms that are like ADHD. And then if you are a woman or a femme, being the chief magical officer, I think, is just a natural thing for us, because I did a podcast forever ago on masculine and feminine energies within business, or solar and lunar energies if you don't want to play with the gender binary. Those of us that identify as a woman or a femme, to then act as the CEO in the business can feel just very depleting unless you completely redefine what CEO is for you and just wrench out any meaning. Like if you go to a normal Fortune 500 company, who the CEO is and what the CEO does, and we're just like, fuck it, we're just going to call ourselves the CEO but do none of those activities. What this podcast forever ago was on the importance of putting masculine structure in your business so that your feminine can flow within it. So actually putting in systems and automations and schedules and rhythms within your business, because that can actually allow you to let go and relax and be creative and be in overflow, because that structure, that containment can hold you within it. So of course you shouldn't be the fucking CEO of your business. Of course you're going to have to do CEO activities, CEO level activities, but to have that be your primary role is going to be so fucking draining. So now let's talk about dopamine. ADHD is strongly linked to dysfunction with the brain's dopamine system. Dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter, you probably have heard about dopamine. It plays a crucial role in attention, in motivation, and reward. And in individuals with ADHD, dopamine levels, or the way that dopamine receptors function, may be altered, potentially contributing to symptoms like inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. And then if you don't have ADHD, you might still have problems with dopamine, because social media can deplete dopamine levels due to the brain's reward system. While social media use can trigger dopamine release, leading to feelings of pleasure and reinforcement, excessive and frequent engagement can lead to a dopamine deficit state over time, which can make it harder to experience satisfaction from other activities and potentially contribute to addiction-like behaviors. So even just a normal-ass person, a neurotypical person in this day and age, can again find themselves with these ADHD-like symptoms just because of their engagement with social media. And maybe you want to give up or limit social media. Maybe you already have given up or limited your social media use. But for a lot of business owners, that just isn't a realistic option. But honestly, like, if you feel any sort of inclination to, play with it. Play with the idea that you don't have to be on social media as much as you currently are. Even with these larger decisions in business where, like, maybe you don't have your primary marketing channel, visibility channel be organic posting on social media. Maybe you instead lean into ads, or you write stuff or make longer form content and then your team will repurpose it, or you can even put it into a social media scheduler so that you're not actually drawn into this dopamine depleting place. You can use apps like Freedom, which will straight up lock you out of being able to go onto whatever app you program into it, including social media channels, but you can do whatever you like. And just like underline reminder with this is that there are other ways to grow your visibility that don't involve posting on social media all the time. If you're in my program, Peak Visibility, or if you're in the regenerative business ecosystem, you see this in Peak Visibility, where there are 4 major categories of visibility. Only one of them includes social media. So we have other people's people, we have being Googleable, we have paying for visibility. These are 3 large ass categories that don't involve social media at all. So you can make these larger decisions on how you actually want to spend your time and put your attention. Or you can do the structural things that we just talked about. So circling this back around to being the chief magical officer. I know for a lot of people, when they think of magic, they think of all sorts of things, but one of the things I really love about magic, and I have been a practicing witch for almost a decade now. It took me a long time. I got into New Age stuff well before getting into more structured witchcraft. But a key component of it is getting into altered states of consciousness. Very powerful magic comes from putting ourselves into these altered states, these altered feeling states, activating the unconscious mind. And if you are a magically inclined person, a magically attuned person, an energetically attuned person, then being the chief magical officer will be a natural state for you. And quick reminder, we are in altered states of consciousness all the fucking time. This is not just a hypnotist putting you into a trance. We go into altered states of consciousness when we consume caffeine, when we have sex, when we exercise, when we meditate. When you watch TV, you are in a hypnotic trance. Like, actually. And so what happens when we're in these low dopamine states, whether you are neurodivergent or you're just depleting your dopamine in this modern world? It leads to you not feeling very magical. So I would argue that as being the chief magical officer of your business, where you're coming forward and bringing this creative energy, you're channeling your creative power into this larger structure that is your business, being aware of your dopamine levels is going to actually help you be a better CMO, Chief Magical Officer. So there's lots and lots of ways to do this. I am not a mental health professional. I'm not a health professional. And of course you can do your own research with this, but like obvious ones that you'll see everywhere is diet and lifestyle. So exercise helps with your regulate dopamine and ramp up your dopamine. Sunlight exposure, cold water plunges, meditation, listening to music, doing breath work, listening to binaural beats. All of these things have been associated with helping with low dopamine. Another thing is limiting inputs that deplete your dopamine. So you can do things like a dopamine fast where you are limiting your phone time. And this could be daily, this could be no phones on weekends, this could be leaving your phone behind when you leave the house, which, oh my gosh, is not a dangerous thing. We think it is. We think we have to have our phones with us at all times. But if you remember, before everyone had smartphones, so for me, I was a teenager before everyone had smartphones, we left our houses. We went and hung out with friends. We went to school. We did all of these things and had all of these hobbies that didn't involve a phone at all. So spending the weekend with friends, at the beach, with a book, developing new hobbies, having conversations offline. All this helps with our dopamine and helps with us being that chief magical officer. So to be paired with this, like, of course, as a business owner, you do need to do some CEO activities, this executive activities. But the key to this is externalizing the CEO, externalizing executive function so that it lives in your business. So some things that we can play with this is having some days of the week that are hyper scheduled days where you can go into this hyper productivity. You can use a lot of motivation or caffeine or whatever you need to get stuff done so that the rest of the time you can have really floaty open space. So we can use our calendars and scheduling and our time to set aside these CEO activities. You can delegate shit immediately. This is something I try and do so much that whenever an idea comes into my head, I try to immediately catch it somewhere, either a note on my phone or the notebook that sits next to me at all times. And a step beyond that, an even better thing is to immediately delegate it, whether that is voice memoing a person on my team, writing it in our project management system, emailing someone with thoughts on it, immediately when I think of it, or else it will, at least how my brain works, it'll be gone, and then I'll just remember it 2 weeks later at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night. It'll be like, oh shit, what was that one thing that I really had to do that I forgot 5 minutes later? That's what happens for me. And another great thing to implement for this is having your team manage you. So that's another way of externalizing executive function, is having a team in place that manages you versus you managing the team. If you have executive dysfunction at all, you're not a good manager. You're really not. Maybe you have become a really good manager out of need, but most neurodiverse people are not natural managers in the sense that that activity drains them. So instead of being this visionary, being this creative where you can express this vision, this desire, If you can, in those moments, immediately translate them and get them off your plate into other people's plates, you're going to free up so much energy to actually give to your people, give to your business, give in the way that is natural for you and will naturally lead to more prosperity and most likely your next level of success. And to go through our 5 main areas of executive function that we want to make sure we capture is working memory, inhibitory control, cognitive flexibility, planning and organization, and then time management. All of these things are high executive functioning activities. So if we can actually get them off of our plates or structure them in a way in these condensed periods of time, we can hyper-focus on those areas and not have it be a part of our day-to-day, because that is depleting. So with working memory, which is holding information in mind while working with it, like remembering a phone number while dialing it, this is where these catch-all places come in. So like I said before, immediately when you think of something, capture it somewhere and have places that you always capture it. And they can be the silliest low-tech scenarios. They are for me, at least. As a very tech-savvy person, I love very low-tech solutions. So I have just a note on my phone that is called Note, and it is pinned at the top of my notes. A pinned note called Notes, and then anytime I think of something that I need to remember or just is passing through my brain, I put it in this note, and then I have daily or weekly tasks to go through that note and put it in its next place. But this is the catch-all. This catch-all note is the place that I put everything, and then later on I have scheduled reminders to put that in other places. Maybe it's to send an email, maybe it's a content idea, maybe it's to delegate something. The first idea just goes here, so throughout my day, as random thoughts come in, there's a place to put it, and then I can take it somewhere else later. I have a physical notebook next to me at pretty much all times, at least when I'm at home, for the exact same reason. Another really small example of this is anytime I get a testimonial from someone, I have places where I put it, where if I'm on my desktop, my computer, I will screenshot it and I will put it in a Google Drive folder that we have just called testimonials. And then we have that broken down by program. And if anyone DMs me a testimonial or like, oh my gosh, this was so good, blah, 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 I screenshot it and put it in and anonymize it, of course, and put it in as an Instagram story immediately. And then I can save it to my story highlights where I have one highlight per program. And then the next time I'm launching again, boom, all of my testimonials that came in from random places are in my Instagram story highlights. And now I can take them when I'm ready to redo the sales page for a relaunch. They're all there. I'm not like trying to desperately go through my hectic DMs, trying to find that one person's thing and what was their name, what was their handle, when did they actually send it? No, I have a process, very low tech process for capturing it. So this is where this catch-all system, so we don't have to actually use working memory. So second place was the inhibitory control. Suppressing impulsive actions or thoughts and resisting distractions. So this is where binaural beats can really help. There have been studies that show that binaural beats can actually be, or certain binaural beats can be more effective than ADHD medicine when it comes to focus, which was just like so mind-blowing. It's kind of this, like that's the level of mind-blowing that studies show that dancing is more effective than anything else when it comes to dealing with depression. It's more effective than basic exercise. It's more effective than antidepressants. Look this up, it blew my mind. Like binaural beats are like this. So whenever I know that I'm like not in the mood to write something, but I really want to write something, I will put on, I'll just Google or search on YouTube, binaural beats for blank, whether it's like creativity or focus or joy, something that will actually help my brain tune into something. So I don't have to be the one who has to like create motivation within herself. I'm externalizing it and relying on this external thing to help me get me there. But also with this, co-working works great for this. Body doubling, if you actually have neurodivergence, you know what body doubling is, but look it up if you don't. There's great research behind actually just having someone else in the room with you, or if you're not even talking about something, you're just both working on something at the same time. This even works with like having your Zoom up where it's just a camera on yourself and there's like a body in front of you. That actually is an external motivation to work on something. And this is where also your team managing you, your team helping you focus, your team telling you what you said the high level thing was, project managing you to actually get that done. Okay, third one, cognitive flexibility. So this is shifting between different tasks, ideas, or perspectives. I mean, such a simple, not necessarily easy, but such a simple solution for this is just batching. Have days of the week where you have to do live calls, days of the week where you're writing, days of the week or 2-hour periods where you are creating your emails or posts for the month. Cognitive flexibility is that high executive functioning task. So simple solution, batch. Don't swap between different things. Okay, fourth one out of 5 is planning an organization, developing strategies to achieve goals, and structuring tasks. So this is why I actually share so many templates in my work, because I've created them for myself. I'm like, how do I create as many templates as possible? And so if I do one thing once, I never really have to start from scratch again. So this is why I do sales page templates and project management templates. And I have an Asana project that's just a template for each launch so that I can duplicate it. I've externalized the project management, externalized the actual tasks so that I don't have to start at zero. And this is where you can actually externalize rhythm as well. So if planning an organization is a struggle for you, or it's something that you put off all the time, or you're like, oh my gosh, this will only take me 30 minutes to plan, but you like keep on pushing back the planning of it for weeks. Externalizing a rhythm can help into your business where like, this is X season, or this is the time of year where we always do this, or every July I do this launch and it can just be a relaunch from last year. So actually putting a rhythm and a season and a cycle into it is a way to have it not be decisions made from within yourself. You're deciding once and it carries on for years. Okay, the fifth one is time management. If you have ADHD, this is the time blindness where we have just no idea how long a task is going to take, whether we think this 15-minute task is going to be such a big deal or something that we think will only take 15 minutes will actually take 3 hours. So again, this can be batching. This can actually be sticking to your calendar. So maybe you have your Google Calendar up right in front of you when you're working on something. Or you have timers. This is where the Pomodoro technique can really help, where you work for 25 minutes, your timer goes off and you take a 5-minute break, or you work for 50 minutes and then the timer goes off and you take a 10-minute break. But the timer is right there staring back at you. So there is no time blindness, it's just right there. And of course, there are so many other ways to systematize, to automate within your business. I just wanted to give some very simple strategies, low-tech solutions to really get started on this today, because when you're actually able to externalize your executive functioning, whether or not you have ADHD, whether or not you're neurodivergent, allows you to spend more and more time in creativity and spend more and more time in thought leadership and spend more and more time as that chief magical officer of your business. Because I don't know about you, the more time I can play in the energy, the more time that I can do my magical practices, the better my business runs. So you wasting tons of time doing things that could be given to your team, delegated, automated, systematized, it's just a waste of your time and a drain of your energy. So of course you can go way, way deeper into this in your root system. I'll share a link to that below in the show notes, or you can come join us in the Regenerative Business ecosystem where you get access to that and 10 other programs and live calls with me every single month as a part of it. And if you want to go deeper into peak visibility, to get yourself off of social media and to be spending more and more time growing your visibility channels that don't require you to show up every day, we're going to be doing our live round opening up this month. So August 2025, if you're listening in real time. So check out, we're going to be doing a special enrollment period very soon. Or of course, just come join us in the Regenerative Business ecosystem where you also get that program. But thank you so much for being with me today. Of course, if this episode was useful for you, you had any ahas, I would so appreciate it if you screenshotted the episode in your podcast app or on YouTube and share that on social media, share it on Instagram and tag me at The Dirty Alchemy. It makes such a big difference in people being able to find this work, and such a big difference for this podcast to grow, this channel to grow. So I would so appreciate that. And I will talk to you soon.